Hello and welcome to Hug in the Snug. We're joined today by Dr. Ken Milne, Senior Manager for Energy Policy at the Isle of Man. Well, first of all, I think we should start with a hug and then we can go into the topic. So we are here today to talk about the Isle of Man and its energy mix. Where should we start? How about what kind of policies do you currently have in place in the Isle of Man?
Well, we have a number of policies for energy. The key ones for us obviously is security of energy supply, making energy affordable and minimise the impact upon the environment. So we have a number of sources of energy. Most of our electricity comes from gas power. So we are connected to the Scottish-Irish main natural gas pipeline. So that generates about 90% of our electricity on the island. But we also have an energy from waste plant that we use to incinerate all domestic refuse. So that generates electricity and can generate up to about 10% of the island's electricity at any one time. And we also have a small hydro scheme as well.
Okay. Would you say that it's easier to involve communities around an island rather than on mainland UK, for example?
I think it is. I believe it is, and I think a couple of reasons. One, they're smaller communities anyway. The Isle of Man's only a population of 86,000. It's got a very small area. It's only 30 odd miles by about 14 miles wide, so it's not very big. So everyone knows everyone else. So you know your neighbours, and they're more in tune with the environment because they will know local farmers, they'll know local fishermen. They can go out from their homes straight to the countryside. So they're far more engaged with the natural environment.
Considering your experience, what kind of programs did you put in place to involve and engage the communities on energy issues, obviously?
I would say government's probably led by example initially. So we've done a number of initiatives and to sort of show best practice and then try and encourage the private sector and domestic sector to try and then implement similar ones. We have done a number of initiatives over the years. We've had what we call cosy homes, where we insulate a lot of the public sector housing to make it as energy efficient as possible. We have had the green doctor, the energy doctor, someone paid for by government to go around all homes and give advice on energy efficiency and how they can improve the performance in those buildings. And also I'm from the Department of Economic Development, and we work very closely with local businesses, and we do a lot of initiatives there. The last couple of days we've run an energy efficiency training course, so companies have come in and learn lots of new techniques for energy efficiency, how they can drive down their energy bills themselves. We also do surveys of properties with consultants to help them, and we also offer green business loans as well at 0% corporation tax.
So you're leading and creating an example for businesses to actually follow up. How about clean tech, the clean tech space? Do other companies come on the Isle of Man and try technologies there?
We've been very successful. We have a very successful, a couple of initiatives that we've done. As I said, we are a small island, so we're great to trial technology. Over the years, we've trialled 3G mobile phone technology, which was trialled in Isle of Man, and then rolled it across the rest of Europe. And more recently, we've done a lot of transport tech trialling. So we've had electric motorbike racing on the Isle of Man since 2009 at the TT races, and TT0 every year since then. And we've seen electric bike technology improve year after year. And these bikes are getting far faster, getting far more performance similar to a petrol one. We've also had hydrogen fuel trials and transit vans, which have been trialled by government. So we've had a number of initiatives trialling technologies, and we've got a number of clean tech companies on the island come to Isle of Man to trial their technologies as well.
Okay. Let's move back to the energy mix. What is the current energy mix that you have in the Isle of Man?
Total energy mix, it's around about 53-54% gas, natural gas, and about 45% petroleum-based, oil-based, with a small amount of biomass. We are actively encouraging biomass to increase. Government policy is that for any new build or any new retrofit, we try and use biomass where appropriate. So we've done our Department of Environment new headquarters is a biomass district heating system there. We've got a school, we've got residential homes, we've got several different projects now, and that gives us complete control of the energy costs. We don't have to worry about fossil fuel prices, gas and oil prices of the future. If we grow the trees ourselves under sustainable forests, we know exactly what it's going to cost.
Where do you see the energy mix going in the next 20 to 30 years?
Short term, we see biomass being significant, heat pumps, solar, some of the smaller micro technologies. Longer term, it's the big offshore opportunities. The Isle of Man owns its sea out to 12 miles, therefore greater than 87% of our territory is marine environment. So we've got 4,000 square kilometres of seabed. So we're looking at offshore wind, tidal projects, initially to export to the UK, but post 2030 we'll have a gas power station that will need replaced. So there's a likelihood that we'll actually look at taking some of that renewable energy from the offshore wind farms, taking it back to the Isle of Man, which would actually then make us carbon neutral.
And what are the biggest challenges that you are faced with offshore wind?
Biggest challenge is the scale of it. These things, to be economically viable, they have to be at large scale. We are a small island. Our peak electricity demand is only 90 megawatts, which for offshore wind would be tiny. We are looking at thousands of megawatts potentially in our waters, so it would be export to the UK. And just now we don't have access to renewable incentives, so if we were to generate renewable energy, it would have to be sold what they call brown power price to the UK. But we're hoping that will change in the future, because obviously the UK are looking for more renewable energy so we can help them meet their targets.
Okay. And would you say that this environmental development for the energy mix, but the island as a whole, was a gradual development, or is it something that started 4 or 5 years ago and then just grew exponentially?
I think you're right, it's been gradual, step by step, but it's gained momentum. It's definitely coming more exponential growth in these technologies. It's far more interest, and it's driven by cost of energy. We've seen fossil fuel prices rise so much, the economics stack up for a lot of these things now, and businesses are getting more interested. Energy is quite a significant contributor to the total cost for running of businesses, so they are very keen to put LED lighting in, to use heat pumps, to insulate their buildings, to reduce their consumption. What they do in their workplace then spills over into their own homes, and then you see the workers doing similar things. It's all about scales. If the scale works, the economics work, then these projects work as well.
And because you are in a small community, I suppose it's easier to coordinate and to find out what the various sectors are actually doing.
Indeed, everyone knows everyone else. Word of mouth is amazing on a small island. If something's been successful, then that will spread like wildfire through the whole island, and the other communities, the other business sectors will know about it and become more interested in using it themselves.
If you had to give a number of suggestions to other islands or other communities across the UK more generally, what would you tell them in how to become greener? And
well, one of the initiatives we're looking at now, which I think would help most islands, we're looking at an eco-island approach. It's what we call in Manx eco-vanning, but it's bringing together the government, the NGOs, the business community, all to work together under a clear vision where they'd like to go in the future for sustainable. There are a number of things that they can share best practice between the different parts of the community, and hopefully by working together they will be able to create that vision for a sustainable future. And I think being a small island, the Isle of Man could help other islands implement similar schemes as well.
But we've seen this trend taking place even in big cities like London, where best practice and cooperation between different sectors is taking place. But the momentum is not as fast-paced as in the Isle of Man. That's why, what is, if you can say, the secret? How are you doing it? What will it be like, the real advice?
It's a hard one. It's not one single point. I think it's several aspects. I think economics have to stack up for a lot of these things, especially in the current climate where businesses and people looking after their money, they don't want to invest in things that maybe have a very long payback period or maybe don't pay back at all. So the economics have got to stack up. But they want to have a clean environment. They want to be an environment where they can go out into the hills, we don't have to worry about climate change and so on. And although it's a small island, our contributions to CO2 emissions is small. We will be impacted, islands will be far more impacted by climate change, sea level rises, the storms we had recently in the British Isles. 90% of our population on the island live on the coast. So they are far more aware and tuned with the environment, and they're very keen on using the natural resources they have.
And I suppose we could actually say that because they see it, it's a lot easier to make decisions when you're a lot more aware about your environment.
Indeed, and being a small island, they are far more resilient, self-sufficient. They want to have more control of their own destiny. So rather than having to import fossil fuel, which could come from the Middle East, Russia, who knows where in the future, if they generate it themselves, they have control over it, and that's really important for small islands.
Isn't this a good story and some refreshing news? This is everything from Hugging the Snug. Goodbye.
Thank you.